Live from the KLPR studios, it's time for Bringing the Heat with Vita Cabrera, Trinity Law, Kade Moore, and Elijah Mosier.
Welcome into Bringing the Heat. Elijah Mosier alongside Kade Moore, as well as Trinity Law. And Kade, we had a little bit of a slow week. Just the two of us. We had Alex Hammocky come join us. But Trinity, you're back. It's great to see you. I'm going to start off today a little bit different than we normally do. Normally, I'll ask a question like, how are you guys doing this week? No, I'm not going to do that this week. I still care how you're doing, but I'm going to ask a different question. And instead, I'm going to ask you, in the future, whenever you have a house and you have a backyard, what dream sports-centric feature do you want in your backyard? Like basketball courts, a mini football field, mini wiffle ball field. Like, what sports-centric thing do you want in your backyard in the future?
I would say I'd want a basketball court in my backyard for my dream backyard, having a big old full court basketball with two nice hoops in my backyard. That would be my dream backyard.
That'd be super fun. Oh, I'm torn. I'd probably say a pickleball court.
Okay.
So I can still do it in my old age, but I actually had a friend that had like a combo of like, she had like a tennis court, but there were also like hoops up. So you could just take the net down and play basketball. So maybe I can do a combo of the two, but.
I would love the basketball court, but I mean, wouldn't it just be fun to have a wiffle ball field? Like, that'd be so much fun. I don't know why I'm on a wiffle ball kick right now, but that'd be really fun.
Yeah, I've seen people like kind of make their backyards into golf courses almost and having like a green in their backyard. That'd be kind of cool to have something like that. Maybe have a little tee box and you can go hit on a green. You need a pretty big yard to have that, but it's pretty cool when people do that.
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking through that this afternoon, and I was like, I saw something about a wiffle ball field in somebody's backyard, and I was like, well, you see, most people who do shows, they have some sort of pre-show chatter, and it was like, that'd be a great way to do it. It'd just be a fun way to mix things up, and it's like, why not? And so that was fun. I enjoyed that. But anyway, welcome into Bring the Heat. I'm Elijah Mosier. And we got a fun show for you guys. NBA, NHL, NFL, our usual Loper Roundup, a little spring football. But let's kick it off with the NBA playoffs. The first round continued over the weekend. And there's a lot that we can talk about. I'm just going to not say anything. I'm going to let Kade lead this off.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of I think from listening back to our show last week with me and Elijah, a lot of our predictions did not follow through. A lot of these teams.
You want to listen back? Here you go. This might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think the Clippers might get past the Mavs in 4 games. The Mavericks just don't seem like they have it.
The series that looks the most dominant to me is this Cleveland Cavaliers team. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to sweep the Orlando Magic. And both of those series are tied.
We were so smart, but for everything that you do get wrong, you do get some right.
Yeah,
because the clutch player of the year, I'm going Stephen Curry.
I think that's Curry for sure.
Most improved player, I can tell you I've heard of one of those players in Tyrese Maxey, so that's my pick.
I think it's going to be Tyrese Maxey the way he's been playing.
NBA Sixth Man of the Year, I got to go with Naz Reid. He's my Timberwolves guy.
Yeah, I'll go with you on that. I like Naz Reid. I like all the Naz Reid memes that I see on social media too. He's a fun guy to watch.
NBA Coach of the Year. This one, I want to go with Finch so badly, but I think I got to give this to Dagnall of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, they're going to give it to the Thunder.
So, hey, we got some stuff right.
Yeah, we did get all of our predictions right for the awards, or for just the player awards, but for the team predictions. But we still have an outside chance for our 7-game series with the Sixers and the Knicks, but the Sixers, Embiid's playing on one leg. It's not looking very good to go 7 games there, but you never know with our predictions.
Yeah, our predictions are somewhat solid, sometimes not. Still got the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year and Rookie of the Year to go yet. But, I mean, we nailed all those. We were really good with that. But some really good NBA action. I had some games on over the weekend, and it was a fun weekend.
Yeah, it was a fun weekend. A lot of games that I didn't really expect to go certain ways, but the team we're going to start off again is that Timberwolves team. There you go.
Sorry, I had to do it.
Oh, yeah. For sweeping the Suns, which was a really shocking series to me. I thought the Timberwolves were going to get past the Suns, but I didn't think they would sweep them. Yeah. Elijah with his Timberwolves shirt and his towel.
Oh my gosh.
And then, yeah. And then another Wolves t-shirt. There we go. Or towel. But yeah, I think that's going to be whoever wins the NBA Finals this year. If the Nuggets can get past the Lakers, the winner of the Nuggets-Timberwolves division round series will be the NBA champion, I think. But they were a fun team to watch and just completely dominated the Suns.
Don't say that, please. I don't want to get my hopes up.
I'm getting your hopes up. Anthony Edwards he's the next superstar in this league, and he's already shown it in this playoffs.
Except now Chris Finch is needing knee surgery, so,
Really?
He got ran over by Mike Conley last night.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
Yeah, he tore his... Oh, I'm going to have to get this correct out here. That's one of the things I did not prepare. But, I came out with lots of surprises, and I can thank my aunt for that. She has a friend up in Minnesota who was at the game number 2 last Monday, and then that person actually brought the shirt, these towels, and even a couple other stuff down to my aunt in Lincoln on Saturday for the Husker spring game because my aunt was up for the weekend, and then she brought it over to me on Saturday with my sister's dance recital, so I can thank her for all this fun stuff. I was like, I'm just going to pull out all the surprises today on the show and just keep you guys on your toes.
Yeah, I was wondering where you got all these props from, but that's pretty cool that you're able to get some memorabilia.
So Chris Finch tore his patellar tendon in his knee, and so he will need surgery on that more than likely. Still waiting to hear on that, but that's what kind of happened there. But into the games and stuff, I did drink about 50 ounces of root beer on Friday night, just hanging out with my friend Kyler, watching the Timberwolves destroy the Suns. It was a good weekend for me. I mean, I was having lots of fun out there, and so now the Timberwolves are the first ever team to sweep a 7-game series in Minnesota pro sports history. The Twins have never done it. The North Stars never did it. The Wild have never done it. Like, nobody has done that in Minnesota pro sports history. It's a good weekend if you're a Minnesota sports fan. The Twins are on a 7-game win streak. The Wild aren't even playing, and the Vikings have J.J. McCarthy. I'm hoping that one works out. I'm going to be positive about that one for now, but Timberwolves are on to the next round, and I'm happy about it.
Yeah, they just completely dominated the Suns. The Suns, for me, the thing that I noticed about them is they didn't really have a true point guard like the Timberwolves or other teams in this playoffs that are being successful. They don't have a point guard. They had Bradley Beal or Devin Booker trying to play point guard for them, and it just didn't work. And that's why there's no point in doing that. But lost my train of thought now. But yeah, that's why I said earlier they were the team with the most pressure, just because this whole summer they built it was supposed to be a super team with Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Yusuf Nurkic, and Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant's supposed to be one of the best players of all time, and he just didn't, like, he played well, but it was just like,
except their issue is they don't have much depth behind them. They did build out a really good team, and with the age of their team, they were definitely thinking that if any year is going to be their year, that it was going to be this year. And unfortunately, injuries happened. They didn't really have the depth that they needed to, because if you look at that Minnesota Timberwolves squad, yes, they had they had their starting 5, which is pretty good: Conley, Edwards, McDaniels, Gobert, and Towns. But then you also have the 6th man of the year in Naz Reid. You have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kyle Anderson. Like, you have a bunch of people who can play those roles, and the Suns just didn't really have that depth.
Yeah, the Suns did not have any depth at all. They tried playing Bol there in those last couple of games, but like, he tried bringing some momentum, but it was just, you can't have one of your best scorers trying to set up your offense. They need what the Timberwolves have. They have a Mike Conley type guy to set up their offense. He did have a good game in game 2, I think it was. He hit a couple threes in that first half, but he's usually there just to set up the offense. He isn't one of the main scorers. So that's what the Suns need to look for in free agency or the draft, is to get a point guard for that roster.
And how much has the lack of success in Minnesota been? I can get on this pedestal. This is the first series win for the Minnesota Timberwolves since 2004. This is Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns are already 2nd and 3rd in all-time Timberwolves playoff scoring. Like, that's how lack of success the Timberwolves have had. And so now we can celebrate a series win before losing the next round, and I can go on with my life, because Minnesota can never go as far as they deserve to go on, because they always choke. I'm going to hold on to that. I celebrated for a moment. Now I'm going back to realistic. And the Thunder and Pelicans. The Thunder after having a pretty close game 1 to the Pelicans, up 3-0 in that series.
Yeah, like the Pelicans kind of tricked us in that game 1. We thought that they were going to kind of make it out or make it a series, but without Zion Williamson, it's really been tough for them to get any momentum going. I think the Thunder are going to end up capping off that series tonight against the Pelicans.
And that could be very interesting, too. I mean, it's just been a different series without Zion Williamson playing for the Pelicans. The Celtics and Heat, the Heat got one game back on the Celtics. It's now a 2-1 lead for Boston. And still no Jimmy Butler, but Miami is hanging in there. This has been the Eastern Conference Final for the last couple of years. Like, Miami wasn't going to go easily.
Yeah, Miami, they nearly have to play a perfect game without Jimmy Butler, but they are so well coached under Eric Spoelstra. They hit I think it was 23 3-pointers in that game 2 win against the Celtics, and they're going to need that again tonight. Some sort of a miraculous performance from their squad down in Miami. But the Celtics are looking like the team that's going to come out of the East unless the Heat have something to say about it.
And how about those 2-7 matchups? Let's look at Nuggets and Lakers. Nuggets up 3-1 over the Lakers. Lakers staved off elimination with their last game beating the Nuggets in Game 4. And so far, teams in NBA history have not won when they've gone down 3-0. And the Lakers are going to have to try really hard. And that's the team I said had the most pressure on them heading into this playoffs.
Yeah, that's probably 100% though, the Lakers, with now that I'm thinking about, probably have the most pressure with LeBron James, with that a pretty solid squad from last year or from this year that they do have, but it's still
I was right.
Sure, but the Lakers have a stat about that is they have led at halftime in every single one of those games, but they've only been able to win one of those first 4. So yeah, they're going to need a perfect performance to beat this Nuggets squad because they're looking like the front runners again.
And then Knicks and Sixers, that's the one where we both said it would go 7 games. Well, right now the Knicks are up 3-1. The Sixers just really haven't had it. Embiid hasn't really looked like himself, and they'll have Game 5 on Tuesday night.
Yeah, that's unfortunate with Embiid because we were saying that was going to be a 7-game series when Embiid was healthy, but he had that miraculous play in Game 1 and then re-injured his knee or re-aggravated it, and ended up coming out that he had some sort of a condition or prior to that series, but did not make it public. So he's been playing hurt this whole series, which has been kind of unfortunate to see. And the Knicks are taking advantage of it because whenever he's out, they're going right at the paint.
And the Bucks and the Pacers, what could be worse than a Doc Rivers led team in the postseason? A Doc Rivers team in the postseason without their 2 stars, Giannis and Damian Lillard. They're down to the Pacers 3-1. I had the Pacers winning this series.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's just terrible timing for the Bucks to have Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo, your 2 best players, not playing in the playoffs. But the Pacers really turned around after that Game 1 loss. They kind of struggled on that first game, but yeah, I think the Pacers are going to finish this one out here tomorrow.
And while we're talking about injuries, I got to go back to the Suns for momentarily. They lost Grayson Allen early on in that series, which really hurt the Suns. So I do have to mention that when we're talking about their depth. And so, yeah, Pacers, the in-season tournament runners-up are in position to advance to round 2. And I'd love to see a Pacers and Knicks matchup. That'd be just so much fun because you don't see those teams having success as often.
Yeah, it's been a while since the Knicks I guess the Knicks, they lost in the first round last year, but I can't tell you the last time the Pacers have made it out of the first round. Maybe when they had Paul George and all those guys was the last time they did it, or in the bubble possibly. But I like seeing these teams other than the typical teams making it out of the first round.
Well, anything could happen in the bubble. That was the bubble.
Yeah, that's weird. That was some crazy stuff with T.J. Warren was one of the best players in the bubble. It was insane.
The bubble is like an alternate dimension that's actually taking place in the actual dimension right here. That's basically what the bubble is.
Yeah, it was a crazy time during COVID. All those, it was just goofy.
And then the Cavs and the Magic. This was one that you said could be a potential 4-game sweep. I was holding on to the Magic getting over the Cavs in this series. I had picked the Orlando originally. I'm holding to it. That series is now tied at 2 apiece. And could the Magic be figuring something out here, Kade?
Yeah, I don't know. In this series, it's kind of been the home teams have been dominant in on both sides. The Cavs won their first 2 home games, and the Magic came right back and dominated in Game 3 and 4 at home. So is it going to be the team that has 4 home games is going to win this series? But I'm interested to see how the Magic come back here tomorrow in Game 5, how they're going to defend Evan Mobley and try to get that crowd to not be as into it as they were when the Cavaliers were at home, because the Cavs fans really got into it. And it kind of shook the Magic a little bit when I was watching.
And then the one where I will have to wear this one on my sleeve, I thought the Clippers were going to take care of the Mavs because the Mavs just were not looking right. They started out very sluggish. Well, now they decide to play, and they have tied up the series against the Clippers at 2 apiece, and they'll have Game 5 on Wednesday night. But what has gone into this Mavericks team? I mean, between Irving and Doncic, they finally figured out how to play.
Yeah, I don't know. They started it was kind of a weird fit when Kyrie joined the Mavericks, because they were thinking, oh, it's 2 point guards. You can't have those 2 guys on the same team. But they've really gelled really, really well here in this playoff so far.
People said the same thing whenever the Timberwolves got Gobert.
Yeah, we got Gobert and Towns, and look how that's working for them. And, yeah, it's going to be – I think this could be the series where it could go 7 games, because it's pretty back and forth. Luka absolutely went off in that Game 2 against the Clippers, hitting multiple step-back threes like he's patented in what he's always done. But it's been a really fun series watching it's kind of the last group of the older players that are still alive. You could say LeBron, but they're down 3-1. But all the old players that we grew up watching are all eliminated from the playoffs.
All right, 3 games tonight. The Celtics at the Heat, Game 4 in Miami, 6:30. Then at 7:30, Thunder and Pelicans, Game 4. And then Game 5 in Denver between the Nuggets and the Lakers at 9 o'clock. Those are all the games tonight. As I'm going to decide to try and predict something again, and we'll see how well this goes. I am going to say that it will take 7 games for the Knicks to get past the Sixers. I still think that's going to go 7 games.
I'll have to respectfully disagree with that. I think the Knicks are going to get it down in 5, but hey, you never know. But it could be interesting, because Tyrese Maxey, the last time they were in the Garden, had an amazing game. So maybe they get one and they go back to Philadelphia. They can maybe get something going here.
Any other predictions from either of you guys? You guys want to put a risk out there, or are you guys just going to be chickens and hold to it and be quiet?
Risk? What kind of risk?
Which team? I don't know. I don't really have a risk. That's like the only one I could think of is, I think you stole mine. But
Stolen.
Because that's the one. Because I don't.
But you disagreed with me.
But because that's the only one that's kind of realistic, I think. Because maybe the Heat are gonna get one more game after the Celtics.
Yeah, the Heat can make it to 6 games. I think that's a fair prediction. I'm not saying a crazy prediction.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, give me a prediction.
Yeah. Okay. The Heat at least losing 6 to the Celtics still.
Trinity, anything? Or are you still gonna?
I want to hear your guys' opinion on Clipper Mavericks. Who do you think is going to take it?
Clippers. I've been on the Clippers train, but I'm gonna go back to my original bracket, and I'm going Mavericks in 6.
In 6.
They played in that's on Wednesday. They play.
Yeah, that's Game 5.
I think the Clippers are gonna win in 7.
I definitely think it's going to go to 7 between these 2 teams.
But which team?
Yeah. Oh. I might have to. Oh, that's hard. I might have to say Clippers too.
Okay, I'll be in the minority. I don't mind. On to the National Hockey League, in which we have our first team into the second round. The New York Rangers swept the Washington Capitals, who had no place being in the postseason whatsoever, but they made their case there. And we have a lot of 3-1 leads. Carolina over New York Islanders, Boston over Toronto, Florida over Tampa Bay, Colorado over Winnipeg, Vancouver over Nashville, and Edmonton over LA Kings. A lot of 3-1 leads. And what really stands out to me is if you look at these games that Colorado has been playing, they have been dominant. They have been beating the Jets 5-1 as well as 6-2. And then there was another one. Oh, man, I got to get to it here. Got to get to load. They lost the first game 7-6, by the way. But they've been scoring at least 5 goals in each of their matches. It's crazy what they've been doing.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what makes hockey fun, is when the teams are scoring goals and people are getting into it and the crowds are getting exciting. But all these first-round series haven't really been close. Besides, they're all 3-1 right now. But the Knights, they're the 8 seed, right, on the... against the Dallas Stars. Yeah, so that could be a possible upset brewing there.
Except, the the Golden Knights won the first 2 games, and I did pick the Knights to upset Dallas. I did do that, and I was crazy enough to do so, but they are the reigning Stanley Cup champions. I'm not going to discount your opinion. It's still very valid because Dallas was one of the best teams in the regular season next to the Rangers. And what I think is, Vancouver over Nashville, that's good for Vancouver to get that momentum going. And so there's a lot of fun storylines. I can't wait till the second round begins because maybe we'll get some closer series. Maybe we'll have a team come back, but that will allow it to be a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, definitely. If one of these teams can maybe pull off the 3-1 and come back and win the series in 7.
But I will say, in my prediction here, I'm not going to say my hot take yet, but my hot take comes from hockey today. I'm going to say that even though the Rangers won 4-0 in the first round over the Capitals, I'm saying that they are going to lose in the second round. They are the President's Cup champions, which means they have the best record in the regular season of all the NHL teams. But whoever's won the President's Cup in the last few years, that's been a curse. No team has made it out of the first 2 rounds after winning it. And so I don't think the Rangers will get past the second round.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure with the Rangers. They looked pretty dominant in that first round matchup, but it was kind of controversial how that Capitals team even made it into the playoffs.
You had a prediction for me, Kade?
Nothing really, no.
All right. So that means we will move on to the NFL draft, in which Caleb Williams went number 1, as we all expected. Jaden Daniels went to the Commanders. Drake May to North Carolina. Well, he's from North Carolina, to the Patriots. Can't just read across the screen. And then 6 quarterbacks went in the first 12 picks. The next one was well over 100 picks later, and Spencer Rattler. And what really stood out to you guys from the NFL draft this past weekend?
The first thing that when I was watching that kind of stood out to me was the 6 quarterbacks in the first 12 picks, but then also there was 14 straight offensive players drafted in the first round. That's kind of a thing that stood out to me. And the pick with the Falcons, that was the heated discussion, was Michael Penix to the Falcons after you just paid Kirk Cousins. I get it, Kirk Cousins is 35 years old, but you just paid him 4 years, $180 million to come play quarterback for you guys.
Well, by the time Kirk Cousins' deal is going to be over, Penix will be 35 years old too.
Exactly. Penix is, what is he right now, 24? He's going to be 24. I think he's 23, but yeah, by the time his contract's over, he's going to be 27 years old. So maybe the Falcons are looking to trade Kirk Cousins out after 2 or 3 years of his contract. It just didn't make a lot of sense at all that you'd bring in a quarterback for that much money. And maybe it makes no sense to me at all why Michael Penix was drafted when you could have obviously boosted your D-line with the Dallas Turner, or maybe gave Kirk Cousins another weapon. You could have went so many other ways, and I feel like it was a waste of a pick in the first round.
You know who Dallas Turner went to?
He went to the Vikings.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Vikings probably were one of the winners of the first round for sure.
But, going back to Penix here, everybody can name Bijan and Kyle Pitts, but can you name 2 Falcon wide receivers?
If I was in the fantasy season right now, I probably could, but right now I can't think of anybody else.
I could tell you Drake London, but that's about it.
Did you say? I thought you said Drake London.
No, I didn't.
I knew Drake London, yes.
But, I mean, they could have seriously went with Roma Odunze, and that would have been a great pick for them because they need another wide receiver. But no, let's go draft a backup quarterback because that's exactly what we need. It's like there's just a couple things. Like the Chargers, they don't have a wide receiver either, and they go out and pick an offensive tackle and Joe Alton with the number 5 pick. Like, what are we doing there?
Well, they did end up they picked Ladd McConkey in the second round, but it was a weird pick not to take Malik Neighbors, but Joe Alt's he's going to be an all-pro offensive lineman throughout his career. So, but it was interesting. They have no weapons at all, but now they've picked Ladd McConkey, and then they took Brendan Rice in the 7th round. So I kind of like that pick by them, but it was very interesting not taking Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, they turned it around with a couple of picks down the end, but at the time, it's like, what are you doing? You're just picking an offensive tackle so your quarterback has 15 seconds to throw to nobody? Like, is that what we're doing?
Yeah, now I'm looking at the Falcons receivers. With so much moving around here in free agency, their second and third wide receiver is Darnell Mooney and Rondell Moore. So they do have weapons to throw to because
Those guys are pretty old.
Darnell Mooney, he's not terribly old.
But I don't hear
Rondell Moore, he's like third or fourth year. They're not old, but they
don't do anything though.
Hey, you never know.
But I mean, like, this is just something where I don't know what Bo Nix is going to do in Denver. I think that's a weird pick. I wasn't very high on them anyway. But I think people are just overreacting about Xavier Worthy to the Chiefs. I don't think that's as big of a deal as everybody's making it out to be, because there's a reason why he went at number 28. There's a reason he wasn't a top 3 wide receiver. Because just because he's fast does not mean everything.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting with Patrick Mahomes. He can make any wide receiver look good. So it's just gonna be a lot of team speed for them with Hollywood Brown, Rashid Rice whenever he comes back from the clink, and Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce. It's gonna be a dangerous team. And then with Isaiah Pacheco still at running back.
And I mentioned this last week. The Vikings didn't have much draft capital to work with. And so the fact that they managed to keep both of their first-round picks was amazing. Because they got an edge, which they needed. They got a quarterback, which they needed. And then they went out. They didn't have a day 2 pick, but they went out in the 4th round and got a cornerback. They got exactly what they needed. I'm happy with what the Vikings did. Are you happy with what your Bills did?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with what the Bills did. I kind of wish we would have got another receiver in the 6th or 7th round, but we only drafted Keon Coleman, which I really like that pick. People kind of hated on that pick because he only runs a 4.6, but he plays a lot faster than 4.6, and he's exactly what the Bills needed. They needed a big body receiver because they already have a speedster like Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel. So I like the pick for the Bills with Keon Coleman, and then getting the DB out of Utah. I liked him a lot too for the Bills. So it was a pretty solid overall draft for the Bills, but the thing that kind of frustrated me is they traded out of the first round twice, but then they ended up getting draft capital back for it, and it ended up working out because I kind of wanted Xavier Worthy, but we ended up sticking with Keon Coleman, or Xavier Legette wouldn't have been bad either. But
Legette,
I like the pick for Keon Coleman.
Didn't Legette go to the Panthers?
Yeah, Panthers in the last pick of the first round, because the Bills traded with the Chiefs for 28, and then we went to 32, traded with the Panthers, and then we took 33, the first pick of the second round.
Yeah, the Panthers are my dad's team, and so I was like, that name sounds familiar, but I wasn't focusing too much on it. But one thing I will say is through the draft, here is probably my one big takeaway as towards the fall. I think that NFC North has the potential to do really great things this year. The draft classes that all 4 of those teams had in the NFC North were pretty good.
Yeah, it's just going to be interesting how these rookie quarterbacks play, how J.J. McCarthy plays.
Hey.
A lot of people weren't high on Drake.
It could still be Sam Darnold.
Hey, you never know. It could be a Sam Darnold, but Sam Darnold, J.J. McCarthy, they're in a great position right now where they have Aaron Jones, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson around, and
eventually T.J. Hawkinson when he gets back,
and T.J. Hawkinson too. And then with the Bears too, Caleb Williams will have DeAndre Swift in his backfield alongside Khalil Herbert, and then we'll have Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Roma Dunze. So it's going to be a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. And then we're obviously not talking about the Lions or the Packers too. There's completely some offensive powerhouses in that NFC. So that could be the AFC North of the NFC this year. It could be the NFC North would be the new power conference.
What do you got? What did the draft tell you as an outlook for this fall? I'm talking about the NFC North, but what do you got?
I think this draft was just, when I was watching the 4th, 5th, 6th rounds on Saturday, I'm like, these players are good players. And I feel like in other draft classes, those 5th or 6th rounders could have been 3rd or 4th rounders. I feel like this draft class was extremely deep, and there's going to be a lot of talent come out of this draft for every team.
Okay, here's what I want to ask you. I want you to tell me a day 3 pick that could be a future Hall of Famer. This is like trying to predict the Brock Purdy out of the day 3 picks. This is not an easy thing to do whatsoever. It's just picking somebody completely random.
Let me take a look. I'm looking around here. I was thinking Troy Franklin first for the Broncos, but now I think you have to go with the Iowa tight end. How could you not? I'm going Eric All for the Bengals. He's going to be one of the next great tight ends just because he's from Iowa, and every single tight end that comes out of Iowa ends up being a solid NFL tight end.
Can I just decide to go someplace else, I gotta figure out where he went because I know he went, and so like I have to figure out where he went and make sure that he was a day 3 pick before I say anything. But can I select the Iowa punter? Like, can I do that?
I guess if you want to.
I gotta make sure that he's a day 3 pick.
Yeah, he is a day 3 pick.
Yeah, Torrey Taylor to the Bears. Yeah, that's my future Hall of Famer. I mean, I know Caleb Williams texted him saying you won't be needed, but that's a good punter.
Yeah, he was the MVP for this Iowa squad this year. So I feel like Eric All, he's going to have Joe Burrow throwing the ball. He's not going to have Deacon Hill or whoever their backup quarterback was at Iowa. And Iowa was giving Nebraska grief during their spring game, saying, "Oh my God, we're not going to be good this year because we're going to have to play." Or they were poking fun of Nebraska because everybody was freaking out about Dylan Raiola. So. But I'll root for Eric All to be a Hall of Famer.
But if I'll pick somebody else, I'll go with Bucky Irving, who went to the Bucks in the 4th round to the Bucks. He's from Oregon, but he was originally at the University of Minnesota. That's why I'm bringing up his name. Do you have a random stat that nobody will know whether you got it right or wrong, Trinity?
I don't even have one. I was looking at something else here because I thought I saw some people that I knew went to the Chargers.
Well, I'll tell you what. Which conference had the most players drafted? This should be an easy question.
SEC.
59 players. Which had the second most players?
Big Ten.
Nope.
Pac-12.
Yep. The dead Pac-12 at 43. Big Ten at 42. ACC had 41. And Big 12 had 31. But you know which team didn't have a single player drafted?
Auburn. And Nebraska.
I was looking at Nebraska, Oh, but you know what? The Gophers had Tyler Newman drafted.
There you go. But yeah, the Nebraska wasn't really expected that we would have anybody drafted. But looking at some more players around here, Audric Estime and Troy Franklin were 2 Broncos I could see popping off and maybe having some really good careers.
All right. Anything else on the NFL draft? All right. Well, we'll take it into our first break here on Bringing the Heat, but when we get back, it's time for the Loper Roundup.
Boy, am I tired.
What did you have for breakfast this morning?
I only had a cup of coffee. I'm still waiting for the caffeine to kick in.
This conversation sounds odd. College students tend to skip breakfast without knowing the impact it has on their education. Here's how it should go.
I feel great this morning. I'm ready to take on the day.
Man, how did you do it?
I followed My Plate's guidelines for a healthy breakfast.
For an optimal breakfast, choose foods from each of the My Plate food groups. Eating a healthy breakfast kickstarts a successful day. When you feed your body, you're feeding your mind too. Go to myplate.gov for more information.
Whether it's food, shopping, or just hanging out, the Nebraskan Student Union has it all. Come dine in our newly renovated dining hall, The Grays, or check out wonderful retail dining options. Looking for new Loper gear to wear at the next campus event? Drop into the bookstore and shop Loper clothing and merchandise. Just looking for a place to hang out or study? The Union has plenty of meeting rooms and tables at your disposal. The Nebraskan Student Union, located in the heart of the University of Nebraska at Kearney campus.
Hey, is that your second one today?
I just can't focus without energy drinks.
Did you know that a large energy drink contains as much as 27 teaspoons of sugar?
That might be why I'm feeling a sugar crash.
The CDC recommends that people aged over 18 years old should not exceed over 400 milligrams of caffeine in a day.
Shoot, I didn't know that. I need to change my habits.
Exceeding these recommendations could cause irregular heartbeat and heart failure.
Now that I know this information, I will monitor my caffeine intake better.
For more information, visit cdc.gov/healthyschools/nutrition/energy.
Vision fading, immune system compromised, but I must go on.
Mwahaha, you've fallen for my trap, every man. I, malnutrition, have finally won.
Not so fast, villain. The Vitamin A team is here to put you away. You will rot in a cell.
Yeah, prepare to be squawked.
You cantaloupe defeat. Many Americans fall short in boosting their immune systems. Vitamin A can be one of the easiest and most important keys in helping keep your immune system running strong and fighting off infectious diseases. Foods like squash, broccoli, and carrots that are always available and relatively non-expensive are all rich in vitamin A. My vision has returned and my diseases are gone. Thanks, Vitamin A team. Now let's finish this.
No!
Remember to pick up foods filled with vitamin A at your local supermarket.
Welcome back to Bringing the Heat. It's time for the Loper Roundup, and we got lots of things to cover here today. I got to figure out what's first on my list here, and so I got to open up the right tab. Let's start out with some shout-outs. The UNK softball team finished their season at 18-31 over the weekend. It was a rough stretch for them towards the end of the season. They, of course, won 3 out of the 4 games in their last couple weekends of a homestand against Lincoln and Newman, but then they would finish their season on a 6-game losing streak to number 6 Central Oklahoma, number 12 Rogers State, and Northeastern State. Just kind of a rough season. They finished 12th in the MIAA and did not qualify for the conference tournament. In the women's soccer team, they finished up their spring season over the last week. You might have heard that game on 91.1 KLPR. John Willis and Ethan McCormick had the call for you guys there. They took on Garden City Community College, and they took that match home. And they had a couple of good scoring taking place. Jordan Renard and Corn Olsen each had 2 goals, and I believe there might have been a 5th goal scored by Sarah Levy as well. And then in women's golf, Juliana Bartero Molina, the junior, shot 7 over to win the 3-day 2024 MIAA Championships in Missouri over last week. We mentioned that last Monday on our show where they were after day 1, but after 3 days, the UNK and Juliana Bartero Molina comes home first. As a team, they finished... where did they finish? I lost that track on my sheet here. But either way, they were not able to qualify for the NCAA Central Region, which will be hosted by Rogers State next week. That came out today, but Juliana Bartero did qualify as an individual. So congratulations to the women's golf team on a successful season, and good luck to Juliana Bartero in regionals. Now on to our conversation topics. Let's lead off with the UNK women's tennis team. Coming in at number 17, they have won the 2024 MIAA regular season title by defeating number 13th ranked Washburn 4-1 on Washburn's home turf. How about that, you guys?
Yeah, the Loper softball team has been, or not softball, it might be. The Loper tennis team has been dominant as of late. They're up to 17th ranked in the country in Division II tennis, and since March 2nd, they've won 13 times and only lost twice. So they've been a powerhouse here throughout the second half of the season and throughout the whole year.
And we say that so much that they're doing so well, but we don't really give them the credit that they deserve. So let's go ahead and do that. And getting victories over the weekend, Melissa Becerra and Narinda Renovo in number 1 doubles won their match. Then Fabiana Gamboa and Tanya Midzi, they took home number 2 doubles. And then in number 3 doubles, Alexis Bernthal and Claire Plashy took that one home. And so that was really good. That got them 3 matches. A lot of matches went unfinished, but Alexis Bernthal also won her number 5 singles matchup. And so really good weekend all around for them. It looks like there's even more here. I don't really know how tennis works, but Jasmine Zamorano won number 1. Oh, she lost in number 1 singles. So got to make sure I get this right. Gamboa and Midzi lost number 2 doubles. And then I think I'm right the rest of the way through that. I'm trying to track here. It's not working very well for me if you guys can't tell. Gamboa did win number 3 singles. But very good weekend for the women's tennis team. Nonetheless, next up they'll have the MIAA Tennis Championships. They'll be the number 1 seed, of course, and they'll wait the winner of the 4-5 matchup. The men, they finished their regular season with a 7-0 sweep, with a 7-0 loss to Washburn, and Washburn finishes their regular season at 17-4, and they'll be the number 1 seed in the men's side, as UNK will be the number 3 seed and take on, oh man, that's a tough name, Ochita. I'm going with that in the quarterfinals on Wednesday. So the next Monday they'll release the regionals for tennis. So congratulations to the tennis team. Anybody got any comments there? All right. On to track and field. UNK sent runners out to the Alex Francis Relays at Fort Hays State on Wednesday, the Kip Yanvrin Open at Simpson College on Thursday, and then the Drake Relays on Friday and Saturday. The Prairie Wolf invite at Nebraska Westland was canceled on Thursday. But once again, Wes Ferguson doing his thing.
Yeah, he had a crazy time again. I think it was 146 in the 800. It was just, and he was up there competing against other upper talent of the Division I level, and he was beating them. So a pretty impressive weekend by him. And then he also ran in the 4x4 too, and they did solid well on the 4x4 race.
Yeah, once again, he is the MIAA runner, track athlete of the week. And so once again, really great job for him. Ran a 146.08 at the Drake Relays. And so there's a lot of gold standard qualifiers once again. I don't think I'll name them all this time. I've done that a couple times. That takes a little bit to get through. And so lots of success. Now they'll go on to the MIAA Outdoor Championships from Friday through Sunday in Maryville, Missouri. And then they got a couple twilight meets before the Outdoor Championships. So that is the UNK men's and women's track team doing great job in what they do. Now it's time for me to get to what I spent a lot of time trying to track down today. Let's talk a little transfer portal with UNK. Where do I want to start off with? I'm going to start off with the wrestling team. Caleb Coyle is transferring to UNK with his final 2 years of eligibility. And so he'll be competing with the Lopers, and he'll be competing with his brother as well. He'll be coming to UNK in the fall. So we welcome Caleb Coyle on board. Bria Hornia, I'm going to mess that up. She is committed to the UNKA women's basketball team, and she has 2 years of eligibility left as well, coming from Hutchinson Community College. I think I got that right. And then a couple of athletes leaving UNK. Bryson Goldsmith transferred out to El Paso, Texas with the Javelina men's basketball team, as well as DeAndre Samuels has committed to Houston Christian, and I believe, I messed that one up. I gotta look it up here. But there was one more that announced that he is going someplace else here, and then I will look that up here very shortly. But lots and lots of transfers here, and let's pull up that name here. I thought I was very well prepared.
Taden King, right? You were saying?
Oh, yes. But Austin Treese to Clark University and Bryson Goldsmith to Texas A&M Kingsville. And then Austin Treese, I don't know why I didn't bookmark that, but Austin Treese committed to Lewis Clark State College. So there's 4 of those 10 men's basketball players that have left the transfer portal to another university. 6 still remain in Sean Evans, Demir Lindo, Sean Murphy, Miguel Robles, Remington Rofer, and Donovan Short. Rofer also has had some offers, as I had that bookmarked somewhere, from South Carolina State, San Diego, Hawaii, some other places as well. Donovan Short's also been hearing from different schools, such as Oral Roberts and Peru State. And so just trying to figure that one out here. And then UNK also got a new catcher as well, and Aubrey DeJong. And so she'll be headed to UNK as well. Couple of football players entered the portal as well, Jamal Joseph being one of those with 2 years of eligibility left. I said a lot of words. Why don't one of you guys say something here as I try to catch my breath?
Yeah, Sean Murphy actually did commit to Lubbock Christian University, so he'll be going there with his last couple years of eligibility.
See, look at that. Trinity is scooping up the news.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird for basketball next year. Us broadcasters have to learn. I'm assuming a brand new roster of players, so that's gonna be kind of interesting. That's a thing for broadcasters, kind of all around the United States right now, having to learn a new roster nearly every year for the sport they call, because with the transfer portal and so many players entering it, and same thing with the UNL men's basketball team, they're having the kind of the same issue of nearly like think it was 5 of their players or 6 of their players entered the transfer portal. But it's going to be interesting to see UNK men's basketball with a brand new group of guys next year.
And that transfer portal being worked, of course, you can't hear about everything. I really wish that that more people put that out there so you would hear those transfers. I know there's a couple on the UNK volleyball team, but I don't recall all of them, so I'm not going to try and guess and get that wrong. But I do recall seeing that a while back as well. And so you just see, that's just something that you see a lot nowadays. And so you have those transfers taking apart and moving around. And, of course, the football team losing Jamal Joseph, that's a pretty big loss for them.
Yeah, he was one of the main running backs for the team last year. I wonder if that had anything to do with kind of Isaiah Harris transferring in, and maybe he wasn't going to get as many carries as he thought. So it just, that's the whole thing. It's like everybody wants their piece and everybody wants their chance to go out there and show their abilities. But it's something where I just got to get used to more and more throughout the years to come with this transfer portal and having these players go to different schools and kind of doing their own thing. So they're going to have to try and find a way, the NCAA, to try and get some regulations on it and try and figure out a solution for it.
There aren't going to be any solutions for it. They have opened up those floodgates, and you're not going to be able to contain those again. But Harris had a pretty good spring game, too, from the sounds of it. And so it's going to be interesting to see what that looks like. Of course, the Lopers also we said this on the show a couple weeks back. Macy Bryant committed to the Hastings College, and so now they get one back. Trinity, my basketball insider, I guess, do you have any more news on the basketball front since you broke the Sean Murphy news to me?
Bailey Egan, she committed to Briarcliff University.
She's following Ford.
Huh?
Yeah, that's where our general manager of KLPR, Ford Clark, is going to Briarcliff and starting his own sports communication broadcast.
We got to know who left first. Was it Clark or was it Egan?
Definitely probably Clark.
I don't know.
And then that's actually where one of our past players, Mallie McNair, she is currently at Briarcliff University, so she'll be joining her.
Awesome.
So there's some news for you. I mean, I was talking just with new UNK men's basketball coach Marty Levinson just this last week, and he was talking about, well, it's really a process of where you have to get to know the guys, and you have to learn. And so I don't think he's offered any of the players from last year's roster yet because he's still in the process of trying to get to know them. He's had lots of open gyms, and from the talks of it, Demarie Lindo's had some conversations with Coach Levinson as well. And so that's just been one of those things where, yes, the transfer portal is something that can be used, but you also got to make sure it's the right fit. You can't just offer everybody.
Yeah, you can't offer just the most talented guys because then you're going to get a hodgepodge of people that can't really bond or get chemistry. And you need to find guys that will work well together and try to find the right group of guys to bring in for your team to be the most successful.
So for those Lopers that have entered the transfer portal and committed elsewhere, thank you for your time at UNK. We've enjoyed covering you. If we don't know and we missed that you are in the portal, well, you can definitely reach out to us. If you're in the UNK system still, you can email all of us. We're in the directory. But and then to all those who are coming in, well, come on into UNK. We'd love to have you. Want to enjoy and have some more fun on the court, on the field, wherever we are. And so just some transfer portal news there. But we're going to take a break, and when we get back, it's time for our hot takes on Bringing the Heat.
I have a huge test today. I'm studying poor. I'm feeling anxious, jittery, nauseous. My heart is pounding. My head is throbbing. My hands are twitching. I thought caffeine would help me stay awake and focused, but I think it's making me feel worse.
How much caffeine have you had today?
I've had like 5 cups of coffee and energy drink. I'm running on 4 hours of sleep.
The FDA recommends 3 to 4 cups of caffeine on average, or you could end up on a caffeine high like this guy.
Exercise is healthy and decreases stress, which is what I'm feeling right now.
When drink in moderation, caffeine can have positive effects on your body. For more information, go to fda.gov. That's fda.gov to see what you can do to help reduce your caffeine intake.
Newspapers aren't dying, but they are changing. The Antelope Student Newspaper has it covered. From UNK athletics and events, to student features and COVID-19 policies. To being heard, buy an advertisement, write a letter to the editor, pick up a copy, or visit unkantelope.com today. The Antelope. News for students, by students.
Up to 96% of college students get less than 8 hours of sleep each night. Getting adequate sleep is beneficial to both your mental and physical health. It could also improve your daily performance. Your immune system will be boosted after a good night's rest. The risk of heart disease and diabetes can also be lowered by getting enough sleep. You can improve your sleep by better managing your time and setting a bedtime for yourself or having a comfortable sleeping environment that accommodates your needs. For more information, please visit sleepfoundation.org.
Peru, Ireland, Spain. Change your life. Be an exchange student. Study abroad. The Office of International Education offers several incredible opportunities to live and study in a foreign country. You can go for 3 weeks, 6 weeks, even a whole semester.
Studying abroad has completely changed me for the better.
Best decision of my life. It was the most amazing, life-changing experience I have ever had.
Don't wait. The time to apply is now. Get information at unk.edu/study abroad.
Hey, I got Kade the last 2 weeks. You got Trinity this week. Look at that. I said I was going to communicate that better. Apparently, I did not. Welcome back to Bring the Heat. It's time for our hot takes here. And let's start off by recapping last week's hot takes. Last week, Kade took the lead. He said Rome Odunze will go to the Bears at number 9. That did, in fact, happen. And I said the Tri-City Storm would get over the Fargo Force in 5 games. Well, unfortunately, Corpy, the goalie, did not play. And unfortunately, Conley was over scoring Michigan goals at under 18 Worlds. And the Storm lost in 3 straight matches. And so, a little sad about that. And then, Trinity, you and Vita, here is your hot take from Alex Hammocky. You're never going to get points on this because this is going to be 15 years down the road. But he said that the Arizona Coyotes will never return. So there's your hot take. It will never be scored, but there you go. You can thank him for that later. Anyway, into this week's hot takes. I am going to go NHL. I told you guys that earlier. And while I said the Avs look like the most dominant team, and I think they might be the favorite to win the Stanley Cup right now, I said this is my hot take. I'm saying the Jets will beat the Avs in 7 games. I am insane. I think I'm a jinx, and that's why I'm saying it.
I think I'm a jinx.
There you go. But
there's a reason why I want to admit that Minnesota's good this year in basketball. I don't want to jinx it.
Fair.
You kind of did. You were like, the depth, they're super. You never, I don't know. You just don't, I won't put it on you. But, so my hot take, knock on wood. My hot take last week was Roma Dunze to the Chicago Bears at number 9, which that did happen. And that was a mild take. I don't know how hot of a take that was, but a lot of people were saying O-line.
It's like the honey mustard wings.
Sure. Or I've never had them before, so I've never had them.
Neither have I.
There we go. All right. But, so my hot take is going to be extremely hot this week. We'll see if it happens. The Lakers are down 0-3 in their series, but then they won Game 4. I'm saying the Lakers are going to be the first team to come back down 0-3, and the Lakers are going to win in 7 games against the Denver Nuggets.
I'm not going to say anything about that. The Nuggets are just going to win the next game and then beat the Timberwolves in 5. That's just what's going to happen.
Most likely.
Not a hot take necessarily, but I think Juliana Patero from Loper Golf is going to place at the Central Regional Tournament.
I like that hot take. I like anytime we get the Lopers in our hot takes, especially when it's them doing well. It'd be kind of bad if our hot take was them not doing well.
Dogging on our own Lopers.
Yeah, we can't do that very well. Vita did not submit a hot take. Maybe she'll submit one later. But those are our hot takes this week. If you have a hot take, let us know. It'd be fun. You guys can reach us anywhere. Vita's waving a Minnesota Timberwolves howl towel. Anyway, so what's on the mind this week? This one comes from Mr. Kade Moore. What's on the mind? Spring football, is it worth the hype? The Husker football team had their spring game on Saturday, and I did pull up information on that. The white team beat the red team 25-21. That tells you how much I paid attention to it. But I do know one name. I think Dylan Raiola.
Yeah, Dylan Raiola definitely looked the part on Saturday during their spring game. A lot of people were honestly saying that he was Mahomes-like, but I don't want to go that far yet. I'm just hoping Nebraska this year makes a bowl game. That's the goal for me. 6-6.
They're going 15-0. They're winning it all.
Yeah, we're the off-season champs for the 10th year in a row here in Nebraska. So you want to put that banner up here shortly this summer coming up. But a lot of offensive talent kind of stood out to me. Jalen Lloyd, Ja'Cory Bonner Jr., the freshman returner and wide receiver. He had a touchdown, and he almost had a kick return, but then the kicker, Tristan Alvano, was wearing a gray jersey, and he thought he was on his team, and so he slowed up, and then the kicker tackled him. But Nebraska is looking really solid on offense. They didn't have a lot of defensive players playing their veteran players on their defensive side of the ball, but I think the defense is just going to be just as good as they were last year. But the offense, I'm assuming, is going to take a lot of strides forward with Dylan Raiola at the helm. Heinrich Haberl looked the part too. He had some massive improvements compared to last year. He was the starting quarterback for Nebraska. Nebraska had some injuries, only 2 injuries throughout the spring game, and they happened within like 3 minutes of each other, which that's the kind of the thing of spring football you want to try to avoid. But Nebraska looked pretty solid all around in the spring game on Saturday.
So you're saying spring football is worth the hype?
100%. Especially here, you get to see. It's the first time you get to see a team, and especially I don't know if it's worth the hype, but it's definitely for the players to build chemistry and then to see faces. Because imagine you're going into your fall fall camp for football and you haven't even met these guys. So that's what spring football is for.
Yes, but people are selling out football games. I'm like, why? Why are we so hyped about that? Why are we drinking the Kool-Aid? I'll tell you what, I know nothing about Minnesota football. I don't know what they did this spring. Their spring game always seems to get impacted by winter weather, and so they did the right thing this year. They're not having one. Good for them.
Really?
Yeah.
They had it indoors last year, didn't they?
They've had it indoors 2019, 2022, and 2023.
And we'll see how that affects them going forward into the season.
They don't need a spring game. They had their spring practices.
Hey, you never know.
It's not worth the hype.
But do you get to hit anyone in spring practices?
I think during the Nebraska spring game, they were bringing each other to the ground.
Oh, yeah, during the game. But, I'm talking about, spring practices. I would think you
I'm assuming, no, you're just studying up. You're just wrapping up and not bringing people to the ground during spring football. But there's a lot of good players from Nebraska that were stood out to me. Another player was Thomas Fedoni. He was the star tight end a couple of years ago. He's had 2 knee injuries, and then he looked like his old self. He was running out there fast, and because last year he looked a little bit slower, and I feel like he's getting his legs back under him. So a lot of offensive talent to surround Dylan Raiola this year.
I don't care. I say this as a Minnesota-born and a Minnesota Gopher fan. Living in Nebraska for the last 10 years, I have went from hating Nebraska for the sake of hating Nebraska to the fact where I've finally been like, okay, I am a Husker enthusiast. I am interested to see what they do, how they do, but whether they win or lose, I could not care less.
Yeah, you are a Gophers fan. And Nebraska doesn't have the Vikings, so that's why Nebraska is so passionate. Nebraska only has the Huskers here, and that's why everybody's so hyped about Nebraska.
Got the Chiefs.
Hey, we all are Broncos too. Don't forget about the western part of the state.
No, they're all the Chiefs. They're all the Chiefs fans. They're all bandwagons.
I know a lot of Broncos fans right here in Kearney as well.
So do I.
But yeah, we'll see how Nebraska does against Minnesota this year because not having a spring game, not having those live reps, but
they get live reps in practice.
Nebraska's it's gonna be a beat down. It's gonna be a beat. Nebraska's smoking Minnesota this year. I'm calling it right now.
It doesn't matter.
But they didn't get a chance to play in front of 60,000 people in Nebraska.
They don't need to.
What do you mean? It's the experience.
They don't need a 2-hour fake game. All they need is a practice. It's fine.
Well, I think as an athlete, having a game just under your belt, whether if it's against your own team or against a practice squad or anything like that, it gets a lot of nerves out. And then practicing or playing a real game also helps you see how other players play and not just in practice.
You get all the
you're not getting stopped every other play by your coach and going over things. You're able to play through mistakes, play through things. So that's kind of also see how the team rallies together in those instances.
Yeah, you get the rust off, you could say, playing that's like in basketball, we would play a jamboree game or play a scrimmage before our high school football game, stuff like that. You would definitely it knocks the rust off, and it's definitely helpful. And you get to play and showcase your abilities in front of your front of your home crowd. It's definitely just I don't think there's anything wrong with a spring game. Let's hear this.
He's prepping it. Not to mention also when you like go to play in a game. When you go and play in a game, like you never realize how much practice shape is different from game shape.
He has nothing to say. He has crickets over there. That's all I hear over there is crickets.
That's all.
As a former
that's all I hear from you guys.
Well, as a former athlete, Elijah, former athlete. Oh yeah.
Hey. I'm not saying it's not good to have a scrimmage. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's not worth the hype and selling out a stadium for it.
I don't think. Well, nobody who sold out Nebraska didn't.
Well, Ohio State's was on Fox.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's worth that much hype.
I think it's just because people love football and they want to watch their team.
Yeah, everybody
potential is going.
Well, check those UFL ratings. Those aren't that super high. They're about 1 million.
Well, college football is much more popular. UFL is just starting.
But that's actual live
to college football.
But that's actual live regular season football.
People, I think, are just getting excited, and it's a way as like universities to build up the hype of the community by putting on a spring game to get like people engaged and prepared for what's to come next season and get people excited. Because
how many times did we get that with volleyball or soccer on campus here at UNK?
They have scrimmages. It's before their season, so it's not like
UNK and Nebraska are definitely different markets for sure.
Yes, they're different markets, but you still saw the UNK spring game for the football turnout.
Yeah, there was a solid turnout.
But they also had volleyball games and soccer games that weekend, and they didn't have near that same. They don't have that same publicity.
Well, because there's 22 people on a soccer team, and then compared to a football team, they have over 100 guys on that team. So that's why you're going to have a bigger crowd, obviously.
I think I'm going to be in the minority this one all the way through. By the way, the Husker spring volleyball game is in Kearney at UNK at the Health and Sports Coliseum on Saturday for those who care about that. But, yeah, okay.
I bet that one sold out, Elijah. I'm telling you.
It did sell out. And you know why? Because it's a little bit different from having a team that can contend for a national championship versus a Husker football team that can't even make a bowl game.
Ooh. Well,
okay, but
we had the same record as Minnesota last year.
But we made a bowl game.
Regardless, though, of how well the Huskers do, like, they're always going to sell out just because of how big of fans we have in Nebraska.
Exactly.
And like Kade mentioned, like, they're only have the Huskers. There's no professional teams around here.
All right, so that's where I'll leave this conversation for today. But I will say this. Next week is our final show of the semester before finals week. So I'll say this. I'm going to throw it out to all of our listeners. I know we get some decent listeners who listen to the podcast. Maybe some people listen live. But if you are connected to any one of us and you have any of our personal info, send us a topic that you want us to cover or a question that you want us to debate. And send us it. We'll go over it. We'll choose some of them and we'll go over them next week. But if you don't have any contact info, either tweet at me at UNK_Mosier, MOSER on Twitter, or email me at ElijahMosier.media@gmail.com. We'd love to hear all of your inputs, what you want us to hear talk about. We haven't talked about MLB all semester long. Maybe one of you guys will want us to talk about MLB. Maybe you'll want to talk college baseball for some reason. But whatever it is, send us it. We'll talk about it. And we'll see what happens whenever we get back next week on Bringing the Heat.
You've been listening to Bringing the Heat, a 91.1 KLPR sports production. You can listen to all episodes wherever you get your podcasts.